Hi there, I'm Lyndon Thorpe, and this is Lodestone Q&A. We're here every Friday at 9 a.m. BST. So please join us. And if you'd like to be a guest in the studio, please DM me on LinkedIn and I'll send you a special link to become a guest here. We are broadcasting live to LinkedIn and also to YouTube. So welcome all members of both platforms. Okay, I'm an embodiment mentor and I'm here to really spread the word about the importance of the body in everything we do. We are stuck in our heads largely. And so it's really important to get out of our heads. And as in previous weeks, I've got two lovely guests with me. Let me introduce them before I put them on the stage. Dr. Muiba Jamusi, who is a certified transformational and relationship, an ex-university professor, and she really helps women mostly overcome challenges such as self-doubt, stress, burnout, and toxic relationships. Also, we've got Ebila Dietspiff, who is a women's empowerment coach, guiding women to embrace their authentic selves, and she has many programs, and she's soon to have her own summit in mid-September, early September actually. So please find out about that. We'll put details under the window when we finish this broadcast, but it's going to be great. Got some really good keynote speakers. I'm going to speak. Muiba's going to speak. It's going to be a great summit. So let me, without further ado, bring them onto the stage. Just a moment. There's Ebishila. Hi, Ebishila. Thanks so much for coming. And here's Muiba Jamusi. Hi.
Hello.
Hi.
Great to be here.
Good. Thank you. It's so wonderful because we've now got this regular thing going and we're even thinking about Christmas. So I've already started planning the party. So, today, as you saw from the flyer, we're going to be talking about your body as a tuning fork. Now, maybe you know what a tuning fork is, maybe you don't. I won't use one on today's session because it will really deafen you through a microphone. So it's better if I use an open inbuilt microphone than my outbuilt microphone. So I won't do that today, but I will be using a very special bell, if I can find it. I've got it somewhere here, to represent the same thing. So without more ado, let me give you a short presentation. And this will really set the scene for what we're going to talk about. Yeah, we've had a wonderful presentation given by Dr. Muiba the other day about leadership and about discrimination. It's a great topic. It's really got me all fired up. So let me just talk about my perspective and then we can move briskly into discussion. So just a moment. Oh, let me see if I can keep everybody on the stage. There we are. Okay, good. And I'm just going to go big style. Okay, right. So just a brief presentation. Your body is a tuning fork. If you don't know what that is, there's a picture of one here. They're the sort of things you see musicians using. If you watch an orchestra playing, they probably use these before they start to play to make sure everybody's tuned to the same A, which is the concert pitch in orchestras. So yeah, my work revolves around this idea that you are a human tuning fork, really, especially if your inner compasses are all aligned. So this presentation really is about leadership, diversity, and the power of vibration. So let's just get started. So my premise briefly is discrimination is really a survival instinct. We need it. There are 8 billion minds, bodies, and spirits around the planet. And of course, we need to discriminate, we need to discern. And if we react only with our minds to discrimination, it creates friction. Yeah, things don't go smoothly. It interrupts the flow of human existence. So this friction can really block people's essence and uniqueness, apart from causing huge problems for people. So just a quick look at the differences between resonance or friction. So diversity, as Dr. Muiba so wonderfully pointed out, is wonderful. It enriches perspectives, creativity, it shows off talent, it builds empathy and compassion, or it can build empathy and compassion, and it can create harmony when inner balance is present. But my theory is that when people are out of balance, then it's going to create friction. So if we look at it as a frictive problem, yeah, cultural clashes, misunderstandings. I know only too well, living in Japan, happens all the time here. Polarization, people are pushed to their extremes, and their identities are often threatened when it's frictive. And this can really aggravate our inner balance and our respect for others, so that we lash out, we react. And really, the interesting thing is that diversity really is a neutral thing, actually, but it can become resonant or frictive depending on people's inner states. For example, if you look at India, now that is an incredible multicultural melting pot. I've spent a lot of time in India, and on the whole, people are so tolerant and life goes on beautifully with maybe 20, 25 different creeds, people from all over the world congregating there. But really, India can be a very peaceful place, and that is because of spirituality. But that's another point. So, yeah, it's a neutral state, but it does become inflamed when we are out of balance. And I think that, for me, is why there's so much racial trouble in the world today. People are out of balance. They're in their heads. So there's lots of friction. We're not flowing as smoothly as we should. So my tuning fork metaphor I use with my Lodestone, with my work in general, and I treat each body as a tuning fork. It has a unique vibration, and it's always present. And when it's really aligned, and all the compasses are aligned, and the inner and the outer are really harmonized and congruent, then that person's energy will ring out so clearly. Yeah. Disharmony comes from distortion and from disconnection. So if people are disconnected from themselves, and we're seeing that a lot with burnout and imposter syndrome, especially imposter syndrome, we're seeing that people may be successful, may appear to be successful, but inside they're cringing because they don't feel worthy of that. And this is where we get, this incongruence is where we start to get lots of friction happening. Yeah. First of all, the word discrimination is an interesting one. I always like to go back to the root of the word. Nowadays, it means something unjust or prejudicial, and it's based on differences of race, sex, age, etc. But when we look at the origin of this word, it's rather different. In the early meaning, it meant a neutral capacity to discern. Yeah, the modern meaning has changed enormously as we've become a huge global population, and also as we've developed politics and technology and so on. So this meaning has really changed over the last 500 years. Really, friction, caused by discrimination, creates a kind of mental noise, and I hear it all the time. This cry for unfairness, for something lacking in the area around the people concerned. Head-based reactions, they really block authenticity. Thank you, Abhishila. That's a lovely comment. We'll talk about that in a moment. Friction, as I mentioned, really stops the smooth flow. One of my lovely metaphors is that I am a river. I mentioned this before. I am a river, a wide, deep, green river, and it flows on no matter what. Over obstacles, around obstacles, but flowing. Rivers never stop flowing, even in drought. They go underground and then appear later. So to keep the river flowing, I don't entertain friction. I've given it up. I've given up friction. So, if we are abrasive in any way, then our uniqueness is muted and our real essence is trapped. And I again see that all around me these days. Last week I mentioned this very ancient saying that Australian Aborigines use, that standing in our own light allows others to stand in theirs. And this, I think, is so true. If we stop performing in the outside world, stop competing for survival, because that's the basis of discrimination biologically, then we can express our true values naturally, and we can stand in our own light. And if you can imagine a global population of everybody standing in their own light, we'd have a fabulous community on planet Earth. And that's my hope one day. I've mentioned the four inner compasses. These are part of my approach to balance. The mind, brain, pineal gland between the eyes. This is all about clarity. The heart and lungs are about coherence and empathy. The solar plexus at the base of the breastbone is all about your power and your confidence. And your base chakra, right at the base of your spine, as you can see in my little picture here, this is about grounding, belonging, and really it's about your relationship with planet Earth, which is so important. So alignment really does remove friction. Everything flows. Physical balance is also important, and I'm finding people are not physically balanced. One of the important things is omega fatty acids. If we have too much, then the body becomes really confused and starts to manifest inflammation. And inflammation is something endemic, really, and epidemic, because it kills more than 60% of human beings. It's the cause of death of more than 60% of human beings. So things like diabetes, cardiovascular problems, cancer, they're all inflammation conditions. So the body swells up to counteract things. And that's when we start to get imbalanced physiology, and thus resonance is not clear, it's distorted. So having good health and well-balanced fatty acids is another way to support authentic vibrations. Friction, stress and inflammation. Yes, my dramatic slide here. When diversity is met with friction, tension or negative views, the body reacts with stress responses. Yeah. And chronic stress really fuels systemic inflammation and leads to big health complications. Yes, as I mentioned, 60% of causes of death in the world today are 60%, more than 60%, are due to these diseases, which are all inflammation diseases. So inner balance is not only relational, it's biological. We have to get healthy if we're going to really thrive, and even if we're going to survive, in fact. Diversity as harmony. We touched on this the other day. I imagine a world full of many tuning forks, and each is ringing true, but they all harmonize together. Last week we mentioned the idea of a world tapestry, an earthly life tapestry, with every stitch in its right place, its right color, etc. No missing stitches. Tribal peoples, ancient peoples really see this as the moment when we will have world harmony, when all the tuning forks are allowed to resonate. Authentic resonance dissolves friction. Yeah, if you're really shining and resonating, then you won't find friction in your life. I don't really at all nowadays. And to me, diversity becomes music, not noise. It can be noise if it's in the head and people are responding. Okay, just moving on. So yes, we've got a few questions here. You may like to think of them too. We're going to discuss these. How do you notice discrimination or competition creating friction in you or in others around you? And how does that affect your uniqueness? Certainly in Japan, where I live, people are not allowed to be authentic because of the domineering culture. And I've spent most of my time here in Japan actually delivering souls from people who've been suppressed and repressed all their lives. So culture can be a very negative thing in some cases. When faced with prejudice or judgment, what helps you return to your authentic tuning rather than staying caught in a mental reaction? If we're in our heads, we react. You can tell when people become angry, they react quickly. If you're reacting from your embodied self, then it's a much slower response. So I can tell immediately how people are reacting to things. I urge people to get out of their heads and stop reacting. How might aligning the body's inner compasses reduce friction and create more harmony in diverse communities? And can you recall a moment when someone stood fully in their own light despite discrimination? And did that inspire you? Yeah, I can think of many examples. Okay, we'll come back to those in a second. And yes, just finally, alignment, balance, and resonance. These three words are really important. It should be important for all of us. And if we learn how to balance ourselves properly, and that applies to leadership too, if we can lead ourselves and we are balanced, then this translates diversity into music, not friction. Okay, so let's come back to our lovely guests. I hope that was not too long, and that you've got lots of questions. So if we just look Just one second, I'll just get my sheet out, which is here. Yeah, okay. Yeah. Dr. Moore, do you think that discrimination is rooted in survival instinct and that reacting with the mind creates friction that blocks the flow? You're a very flowing person, dancing and so on, very joyful person. Do you think discrimination blocks that kind of flow? And I know you've experienced discrimination in your life. Dr. Muiba. There you are. There you are.
You must have guessed that I was thanking Lyndon for the invitation, Abby for the presence, and the audience for being with us.
How lovely.
So, discrimination, yes, you could have discrimination much more often than one thinks. So, we need to be prepared for discrimination. You could be discriminated against for practically anything, any silly little detail. One is a little fat, and people would look around and say, oh, look at that. You could be a little whiter, darker, taller, smaller, let alone when you belong to another ethnicity, another race, another nationality, religion, region of the world. So we need to be prepared against discrimination. First, by cleaning ourselves from discrimination, accepting the other, being tolerant, looking around and seeing you are as beautiful as all the people I have met, as beautiful as me. And just one little thing, when I was 11, we moved from a homogeneous, culturally totally homogeneous background where everyone belonged to the same race, same social class, same everything. We moved, I was 10, 11. We moved to a building where, oh, anyone and everyone came from different parts of the country. And so they were darker, particularly darker because they came from the south. They were from the army. And I loved that. You know what? One couldn't even guess it. I loved it. It made me so tolerant because I could smell their food. And southern food in Tunisia is unbelievably delicious. So we lived on the fourth floor, and each floor I could smell the food. By the time I got home, I would tell my mom, you know what? And this is what I said: I will never marry from our own town. I love Southern food. I will marry a Southerner. And that was so taboo. My mother overreacted and said, by the way, you'll never marry anyone. You are such a rebel. And you see, it's contact. That's what my conclusion: contact eliminates discrimination because you can see the beauty of the other. In the smell of food, I could see the beauty of these darker people coming from completely different towns in Tunisia, parts of the country, and their beauty came out through that smell. When you allow, particularly the child, to be in contact with other cultures, you have saved the child from discrimination, racism, rejection of the other, all of that, because there's nothing innate. All comes from the outside. And so we better create that outside that helps you accept the other.
Wonderful. Yes, I totally agree. Coming from UK, culture, 10 or 11, all my friends were black, and I loved it. I was the only pink face really, and they were the best of friends for me.
Yeah.
Um, and of course, I was discriminated against because I was associating only with my wonderful Caribbean friends. They're all from the
Yeah.
Caribbean, mostly when I was a child. What about you, maybe Sheila? How do you?
Yeah, I think you asked if it's survival.
Yeah.
I think, from my perspective, I think it's the reptilian brain in action. So anything, like Dr. Mohiba said, when it could be color, it could be size, it could be height, anything that's different from us, we're straight away scared. And that's why I think it's very important to have that balance in and know who you are. Because when you know who you are, you're not scared of anything else. But I think
Mm.
because we're all so out, and it's getting worse each decade, we're getting more disconnected from who we really are. I don't know why that's happening, but from my observation, I can see that's happening. And I think the more disconnected from self, the more disconnected you are with others, because it's only natural, and this exists in every culture. Some people might think it only exists in their culture. It exists in every culture. I grew up with only black people, and I was a minority, and I was discriminated. And then as a female, you're also discriminated against as you get older and you go into the workplace. And I just think it's a survival thing. We're tribal. And by tribal, I mean
Mm.
we relate to what's similar to us. And so we need to get that balance, because once you get that balance, like you were talking, and it's so fascinating, this talk. I have so much in there. And I liked where you talked about resonance versus friction, because that's something when we talk about diversity, there's so much friction about diversity, and diversity. So I don't like when people. One of the words I really dislike is the word diversity. But the word diversity, as it applies in the dictionary meaning of diversity, whereas when you go into etymology, you find out that
Yes.
diversity means something different. And the thing is
Yes.
that
Thank
when we use the dictionary meaning, that affects us subconsciously. So we don't realize, we might think we're doing a good thing by saying we want diversity, but your subconscious understands what real diversity is. But when you're telling your subconscious that diversity is kind of discrimination, because it seems to be discrimination from what I can see. So you end up without realizing, you think you're doing a good thing, but you're discriminating against one. If you take race, for instance, you try to help one race, but you're discriminating against the other race.
Yes.
So this is
Yes.
what's happening if you
Yes.
look closely. So as a minority, because you're discriminating towards me in the Western culture, most of us don't feel there's any discrimination going on. But the people you're discriminating against can see the discrimination. I can see the discrimination. I've seen the discrimination for years, and I've
Yes.
been pointing it out for years, even before people started pointing out. But the
Yes.
thing is, it's creating a lot of friction in society, which is
Yes.
creating more division
Yes.
and disharmony. So I think it all starts with the individual. So as we, instead of looking on the outside for the solution to be solved, this is what we're doing. Oh, you're doing this wrong. Oh, you're doing
Yeah.
that wrong. No, what are you doing right? Rather than criticize the other person for what they're doing wrong, what are you doing right? And as you start to look within, like Dr. Mahiba said, you start to get the compassion. And I think naturally as a child, maybe your parents have brought you up in the right way, or you're just naturally gifted with that. As a child, you have that love for yourself, and so you had that love for everybody else, because all you could see in other people was the good things, even though I'm sure a lot of them had some bad negative things, but you were blind to all that negativity. All you could see as a child was the benefits.
Yes. Of course, children are
It's
already
complex.
so balanced, really. Most children before the age of 6 or 7 are really balanced. I've done a lot of work with very young children from a Buddhist point of view, working as a Buddhist realm. And yeah, they're just so big hearted and so loving. You know, all that loving kindness just oozes out of most children.
Have
Dr.
you
Muiba was,
noticed?
sorry, go
If
on.
Have you noticed, if you put children, say we say 5 children, different colors, different races, different languages, they can't even understand each other, and just watch them. Just watch them. It's like, Oh my God, they can't. They don't even speak the same language. They're from completely different backgrounds, but they're having fun and they're playing.
Yeah,
Yes,
They just
absolutely.
manage it.
yeah,
But as we get
yeah.
older, we get indoctrinated with, oh, this is different.
That's
And I
the
say to
word.
people, you see black and white. When a dog sees another dog in the park, they're excited. They don't
Yeah,
say, oh, that's a black dog, that's a
yeah,
brown dog, that's a white dog.
Uh,
It's
uh,
so true that
yeah.
they don't see that. They just like immediately.
As usual,
totally that
when you,
goes on.
yeah, as usual, the minute you start talking, I start having half a dozen questions, half a dozen answers, 12 questions, 12 answers, and you get me all over the place because I would like to comment. So I pick up one word. I pick up a word like Ebby's indoctrination. And that is at the heart of a discrimination. Our kids, and I agree with Lyndon and I agree with Abby, that put some children around, none of them would notice your color, your size, your whatever. Why? The why is that the adults around them have not had yet the great chance of indoctrinating them. They have not had the chance, the time to put all the labels on top of all the people they are going to encounter. And so they are still, as I use the word, virgin. They are
Yeah.
still, still have this innocence, this naivety, which is so dear to us if we manage to keep it. And I often say, inside, we are all, without exception, 5-year olds, all of us. I go to summits where you have old people, great masters of this and masters of that. And I tell them, you too, you are little 5-year olds like me, like you. At the heart of it all, we have that great connection to the other. That is what is natural. None of us would survive by themselves. So we have a natural drive towards the other. Now, when
Yes.
our natural drive takes us towards the other, like we are sitting today, like what I love the word equals. Yes, we are equals because each one has inside something unique and extraordinary. Each one of us, when we sit together, there is a flow. And the word flow was used about our last session, where it flew because none of us claimed she had all the truth. No, we had little bits and pieces of that great universal truth. So when we approach the other with that innocent look, you are exactly like me, a human being. You look different, sound different, taller, bigger, whatever. When we do this, we do not have a word I used last time, we do not have a hegemonic approach towards the other. I am white, I am a man, I come from some sort of civilization. With these, I am, you are crushing the other. You're not listening, you're not seeing the other, you're not smelling the other. Because through smell, I accepted any difference.
Yeah. Yeah.
Any difference, it blurred the way they looked, the way they talked. We don't care. The smell connected me to them because I had
Because
not
you
had
love food.
labels. Yes,
And
yes.
you love food and you love
You
eating.
know why? Because I was anorexic.
Oh,
I was then anorexic. And so
really?
food, yes, indeed. The fact that I could love food came as a surprise. So I
Mm,
didn't love my own food. How come I loved other people's food? This brought the others as something different, interesting, and worth knowing.
yeah, it's very interesting. Yeah.
It is intriguing, even when you
Yes.
allow the child not to have prejudice, not to judge. Smell it, and I smell it, and I said, wow. My mom was the first to be surprised. I had never eaten anything except forced into eating bits and pieces. I used to weigh 42 kilos as a young girl. As a young lady, 48 kilos all my life. It's only after the age of 55, oof, that could I surpass 50. So you see the importance of food and how I found it in the other. That's because
Yes.
there's no barrier between me and the other. That is so fascinating. Allow your
Yes.
child through education and contact.
Yes.
These are the two. Contact, contact, contact allows you to live with the other throughout life, by the way.
Mm.
Yes. Yes. Absolutely. I
It
think.
expands your knowledge, the contact.
Yes.
Does really
Yes. Of
expand
course.
your views.
Oh,
You're not tunnel vision. Your views become that way.
yes.
Mm.
One of the problems here in Japan, I always mention Japan because I'm here and because I've made a big study of it, really, and I know the people so well. But here, one of the big problems we've got is this narrowness, because Japan is a monoculture, linguistic. If you don't speak Japanese, you don't stand a cat and hell's chance here, really. And all of these writing systems, you've got to have three right. It's really absolutely meshed in to be monocultural. And even now, Japanese are really fighting against becoming global. Yeah. I meet with a group of Japanese businesswomen. They're business owners, they're leaders, but they are very unprepared to be global. They are keeping their narrowness, and I have to stand on my head to try and make them open their eyes and see that there are other ways. They're just scared of losing that unique culture, I think. So, yeah, here it's a big problem. Um, but yes, absolutely. Every tuning fork, going back to my little presentation, we're all unique tuning forks, um, which creates this 8 billion strong diversity. Um, and we're not being true to ourselves like children can. And so, because of the layering of conditioning as we get older, from the age of 5 onwards, really start to be heavily conditioned, then all those layers really prevent us from resonating, from our tuning forks resonating. And it's only when we can reconnect with our true nature, which is what I help people to do, by going down through all these layers of conditioning, stripping them away, that we can really start to resonate again. And that, I think that's really what's happening with many, many people. Yeah, fascinating. Oh,
Lyndon, may I comment on your metaphor, which I love? I love music as a listener because I'm a dancer, so I don't play any instrument. The Europeans have found a way of doing it, the maestro, the one who tells everyone else this is where it starts, where it ends. Beautiful. So when you look at it and say, what a beautiful harmony. You go to Africa, and this is where the connection is between Africa and Black American music, where you have people coming, 3 or 4 major musicians come from all over the United States, say, and sit together and say, okay, let's play music. They have never played in their lives together. There is no maestro. But when starts and goes, dum, dum, the others follow and follow with different instruments, and you have the most unique, because then uniqueness is the beauty, something absolutely unbelievable touches you, is so spiritual. Just like Europeans listening to Beethoven or Verdi would react. We react differently. First time I listened to Black American music, I didn't know anything about Black American music. I said, that resonates with me. Well, of course, I'm African. Why wouldn't it resonate with me? So the beauty is spontaneity in our own music. The beauty in European music is harmony. The beauty of it all is to have respect for these masters of music in Europe, and this great respect again for these great masters of African music, because they follow different rules and the outcome is the same. The beauty of music. When we have this respect for the other, you do not impose on African music a maestro, because he or she would have no place. And you wouldn't say to European orchestras, oh, come on, get rid of your maestro. There is what I always go back to, hegemonic approach. Let people have their own culture, because it's then that is beauty. It's there that it is music and not noise. That's what I wanted to say about this
Mm,
beautiful metaphor of yours.
thank you. That's lovely. It takes me even deeper into it. Um, but yes, absolutely. As a musician myself, a professional musician to begin with, um, I really understand that idea of respect. And I think for me, through music, which was my first passage into adulthood, really, I really realized that each music, each type of music has its own uh, beauty, and
Yes,
we can all enjoy everything. You know, this is kind of
yes,
unity about music because it's concrete. This music
yeah,
is concrete. We can interpret it, but actually you can't dispute it. It is this or it is that, you know, and you have to accept it. And that's why music therapy is so powerful too, because music is concrete. And yeah, I feel so privileged that I realized that at quite a young age. And I think that gave me a very strong basis for uh, you know, dealing with discrimination throughout my life, really. Wonderful, great. Got some great points again here. Okay, let me go to the another question.
Can I
Yeah,
interrupt and just ask you a question, please, Lyndon?
yes, you can. I'd love it.
Yeah. So, how do you help mentees interpret diversity in a resonant way?
Right. Yes. Good question. Well, I'm dealing with someone at the moment who um, has a lot of health problems and has really worked with therapists for years now and not got anywhere. And when I first talked to her, I said, "Yeah, you won't get anywhere with talk in that way if you're suffering like this." And she said, "Why?" Well, because talk comes from the mind, and the mind is not stable. It's not a place to live from. It's a great tool, fabulous tool, but it's not where we should really live. It's not where we should exist and anchor ourselves. And she was knocked out by that. And she said, "Well, what can I do?" So I said, "Well, you can come and work with me. I'm going to use voice. I'm going to use tuning forks. I'm going to use bells. I'm going to use all sorts of things to find out what your real resonance is, what your vibration is." And I can always tell by people's voices. Voice tells me a lot when I speak to people. I can usually tell if the voice is embodied or not, because it's coming from deep down in the diaphragm. You know, the breath is supporting the airflow, and so the voice has a richness and a real resonance, which, if it's disembodied, does not. And that's a very interesting thing here in Japan because most women have very high pitched voices like this. Their voices have never come into their bodies. And that's the culture. And so with my students, I spent a lot of time getting them to bring their voices down into their chest and then further down and develop the range of tones and registers that we need to really communicate well. And that's why Japanese are not so good at communicating globally, because their voices are not developed quite often. Um, so yes, I work with a combination of things: meditation, of course, visualization, um, and I recommend balance of fatty acids. That's a big thing, and that was another thing that really surprised her. She said, "Yes, you're right. I've got high level fatty acids, omega acids in my blood tests. I said, well, that's got to stop. We've got to do something about that. So I can recommend balance oils for that. And generally, I invite people to use my Lodestone product so they can have contact with me every day for 30 minutes. And I give this audio transmission for 30 minutes every day, and it takes them through all their compasses and starts to help align them. And the first thing I always recommend is whole body listening. And I mentioned this a couple of weeks ago because we are, primed to think that we can only hear here, and we can't do that very well either. People are always saying, why aren't you listening, But if we use the whole body, as we did when we were creatures, you think of a tiger stalking through a steamy jungle. It's not just listening from its ears, its whole body is listening. All the skin pores, all the hair follicles are alert to what could be the next meal or a threat of some kind. When I mentioned this to her, she said, oh, yeah. She said, for years I've had hearing problems and always been scolded for it. And so now you're telling me I can listen with my whole body? I said, yes, you certainly can. And we actually did a practice there, right down to her toes and the soles of her feet. And I took her into the jungle as a tiger. And when she came out of the jungle, she was absolutely amazed how differently she felt and how differently she was seeing the world. Because when I take people to their inner core, which I do through meditation and voice work, they start to recalibrate inside, and then coming back into the visual world, into the intellectual world, where everything, appearance is everything, and this is another factor of discrimination, isn't it? Appearance is everything in the head. Then they are looking out into that visual world in a totally different way, totally transformed. And she said, God, I can't believe the world looks so different after 10 minutes. I only had time to do 10 minutes with her. So yeah, she started on the Lodestone 30-day program, and she is also taking my balance bills. And she's doing really well after about a week. She's feeling so much better. Sleep was a problem. Sleep is often a problem when the body is out of alignment, isn't it? I'm sure you know that too. Well, for years she had terrible problems sleeping, and she wrote to me about the third day in the program and said, I can't believe it, I slept for 6 hours last night. She was so thrilled. So it's really all about aligning these inner compasses with sound and encouraging whole body listening, anchored breathing, anchored to here and now. So when we consciously breathe properly with the right direction, we are anchoring ourselves to here and now. Last week we mentioned this. There is only here and now. That's the reality. Then and there, they are, a kind of dream state, really, that the mind, the intellectual mind, tricks us into thinking is reality. So the anchor.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you, Lyndon. What a wonderful way of explaining the whole procedure. And you were thinking of the then and there, and the word that came to me is distraction. We get distraction by what I call the two giants. The past is a giant, the future is a giant, and the poor present is so small, wants to survive, wants to say, I am the most important. Listen to me. No one listens. Everyone is there, there, all
Yes,
over the place,
I
except
love
in
it.
this wonderful moment
Yeah.
that we are going through. That is precious, that determines not only the future, our present determines our past because we can revisit the past, we can
Mm,
review the past and have more maturity to understand what we could never understand in the
Yeah.
past. And as you take your clients to the jungle, beautiful metaphor, the tiger in the jungle, beautiful metaphor. I often take myself to a match where you have black people and white people playing, and I look at these black players and I say, look at a black player, and if you dare be racist after that, I defy you. What's the difference between a black player and a white player? They are combining, making the team win because there's no discrimination when they are playing.
Mm.
No one would ever say, no, I'm not giving the ball to this one, he's black. I'm blah, 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 blah. No, dear, no, 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 no. You ruin it all. And look
mm,
at the black player playing just like the white player. They are in their whole body. It can't be different. If they are in
mm,
their mind, they can't move. If they are in their feet, they can't think. They are at the same, the best players are everywhere in their body. They are all over themselves. They use every skill they have, their physical force, their mental vision. Everything is there. The outside world is where they are moving, and they are moving as a whole. And
mm,
that's the successful
mm. That's,
football player.
yes,
No
yes, that's
matter the
very
color,
interesting.
the race, the ethnicity, all of that is a distraction. And to
Mm,
finish, I would like to say that diversity, I entirely agree with you. Yes, Abby, that diversity is discrimination if you choose people just for their face. I will. We need a couple of black people in our organization, and a few women, and a few younger
mm,
and older people, so that it's diverse. You are
Discriminating.
discriminating against these people.
Yes.
You are selecting them just because they are women or black or tall or small or young.
yes,
No, choose talent and you will give the
yes,
same chance to all.
Everybody. Yeah.
That
that's right.
is diversity plus inclusion. Without inclusion, please stay where you are. Don't try to go diverse because it's
No,
going to be, as Abby says, sheer discrimination. And as
yes,
usual,
yes.
we we don't go too far because we go in depth, as you said, Lyndon.
Mm, yes. Yes, that's very true. Yes, I think there is the resonance, as I mentioned in my presentation, the resonance of diversity,
Yeah.
and we can talk about that and say how fabulous. We've got this range of races and creeds and genders and ages in an organisation, but then we've got the frictive diversity, which causes very uncomfortable rubbing together of things. And then we've got the dishonesty that goes along with that. You know, we are employing these people because we're required by law to do it. I mean, I know
Yes, yes,
in
yes.
UK there are laws about
Yeah,
who you can employ. You have to
yeah.
employ a certain quota of handicapped and blah blah blah. So yeah, it all comes back, doesn't it, to our inner
Yeah.
feelings, and for each of us, if each of us was balanced and could stand in our own light selflessly, not worrying about anybody else, then everybody could stand in their own light.
And
Um,
one thing, Lyndon,
mm,
when you stand in your own right,
yes,
you find that the discrimination doesn't come near you.
yeah,
When you stand in your own authenticity because you believe in yourself so much
yes,
that he becomes blind to other people. The thing is that, like, if you take the workplace, for instance, people recruit things that are similar to them. So the tribalism comes in. So
mm,
a white man would tend to want a white man.
mm,
A black man would tend to want a black man. That's just the tribal instincts in us. But
mm,
when you're true to yourself and you're really authentic, you find that you go for the interview, you find out that you overcome those barriers because, again, that tuning fork that's within you radiates
mm,
outside of you without you realizing it, and it's like a
mm,
magnet to the other person speaking to you. But when you've got all that stuff in your mind going on and creating that friction, unintentionally, subconsciously, you're creating, the other person becomes defensive. It's not intentional, it just happens because I don't know how to explain it, but that's all the spirituality. You can probably explain that better than I can. It's just what
well,
I've observed.
that's a great intro for next week. We should look at
Absolutely.
the spirituality of diversity, shouldn't we? Because
Yeah.
that's something very different. And I would love to look at that with you, if you agree. Yeah, if people were really in touch with their spirit, and by spirit I don't mean anything religious, nothing at all like that. Energy, spirit is energy. That's all. Scientists tell us it's indestructible. Okay, so we all have this unique energy which can never be destroyed. That's
Or
another thing that
created.
helps
Or
my
created.
client. Mm. When I tell them, they say, what do you mean it can never be destroyed? Yeah, spiritual energy can never be destroyed. Energy cannot be destroyed. So the universe is full of energy, our energy.
Yeah.
Um, but when we look at the spirit as the energy, unique energy of each tuning fork, resplendent individual, then we've got something very special. I think if we can really get that across to people, that their energy is their guide. They have their tools, they have their mind, which is great for intellectual things, they have their body, which is excellent for everything. But then they have the spirit, the energy, which will guide all of that. And as we know, if energy is misprojected, that's what's happening today. People are projecting very negative energy. And if you're not prepared for that, you take it in. And I think a lot of sickness today is due to bad energy being imbibed, if you like. But that's another big topic too. But yes, why don't we think more in terms of the spirituality of diversity?
Yeah.
Um,
Uh, I entirely agree with both of you concerning diversity as dangerous if it's there for the wrong reasons. Diversity happens haphazardly.
yeah.
When you recruit people without barriers, you are bound to end up having black and white, tall, short,
Yeah.
women, men, etc. You
Yes.
happen to. But if you target this, it means you are no longer targeting what is right, which is good talent for this particular job at
Mm,
this particular time, at this particular space. If you're
yes.
targeting colors and ages and genders, you are not going to get the right people at the right place. And this is why, after diversifying your organization, you end up losing these people because they find that
Yes.
they have no space. They're not the right people there. They
No.
find themselves not at ease.
Yeah.
Drop these labels and you will do them a lot of good, because when you recruit someone, don't recruit me because I am a woman, don't recruit me because I am from this nationality or that age. Recruit me because you see in me exactly the creativity, the innovation you need, and then you are serving your organization yourself and me. And only then would diversity be a great tool
We'll
and
get
a
it
great
right.
achievement.
Yes. And so the spirituality of the recruiter, the the boss, is so important.
Essential.
And
Yes.
if they are spiritually aligned, their
Yes.
guiding energy is really driving the organization, then
Correct.
they'll have the
Yes.
courage
To
to
do the right
employ
thing.
higher. Yeah,
Yeah.
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 It's so true, isn't it? So, yes, that's our next topic. Let's talk about spirituality of diversity, or the spiritual diversity, something like that. And
My favorite, by the way, my favorite topic is spirituality. My
Me too.
favorite. See, it's going to be a lot of joy.
we are learning a lot today. Wow, wow, fantastic, superb. Well, let's talk, because it's definitely mine. And I think it's maybe Abby's too. I think,
It is.
yeah.
Great
The,
time ahead. Great time ahead.
yes, fantastic. Okay, let's get working on that. And I'm really so glad you came today, and I'm so looking
Thank you.
forward to deepening our all our wonderful insights and stories. And really, we can write a book eventually. We have to do that.
Thank
I'll
you so
organise it.
much. Thank you.
Thank you.
My pleasure, and thank you so much. So lovely. And I'll be in touch about next week. I'll get some questions together, and we'll get sorted out. Superb. Thank you. Have a great weekend and a great week, and see you next
too.
week.
Bye. 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 Take care.
Bye.
Bye.
You too. Bye. Wow, that was great. Very interesting discussion indeed. And I'm so thrilled that we can have these discussions every single week. So please join us next week for Lodestone 1 Q&A with Dr. Muiba Jamusi and Eddie Sheila Dietzbiff. And we're going to really crack open the topic of spirituality in diversity. And you can see how we're really inspiring each other to go deeper into leadership, really. So thanks so much for joining me today. I'll leave some links for you below this window. If you'd like to come and join us in the studio, please send me a message and I will provide a link so you can become a guest and you can join in the flesh, which would be wonderful. Well, thank you so much. This is Lyndon Thorpe. We are just coming to the end of Lodestone 1 Q&A. And today we've been talking about your body as a tuning fork. You're a human tuning fork. If you'd like to know anything more about this topic, please contact me, always around on LinkedIn. Thank you so much. See you next week. Bye.